Hello.
Kind of an interesting weekend for you, Uriah. Give us the process. Like, what happens that you end up being the mystery man coming from behind the curtain to weigh in yesterday? How did this all happen?
It's kind of a long story, but basically, when they put these fights together, a lot of things could happen, and there was a issue right off the bat, and I think it was good for Song. Like, Song really was, because our gym has been closed. Like, we took the quarantine like real strict. There's about 8.5 weeks where has no one to train with, and he's just doing his own thing at home. And so the idea of fighting on short notice to him was like, oh no. And I had to, I think it's good for this kind of stuff. It's good for a young guy's mentality to say, look, I want to show you what you can do in 2.5 weeks. So we got on a crazy running schedule and did all this stuff that was like a jump start into basically a miserable process for him to make sure that he could go with a guy that's been preparing for 16 weeks or whatever. Marlon's running 15 miles a day, and Song's like, is all fluffy from eating Chinese food. So I told Shelby, yeah, we'll take the fight. And then the slightest little bit of pushback, and Shelby's having to do with all this different stuff, and he's like, somehow Cheeto heard that Song backed out, put a tweet out that said Song's a pussy and Uriah jump in, and so that put in my head, like, I said, Shelby, just keep on trying to get this fight for Song. Worst case scenario, I'll be there. And before I left, we were told everything was okay. So I wasn't trained or anything. I was standing on the side while he's doing sprints on the treadmill, and I'm watching these guys spar. I did jump in and do 3 rounds, one with Cody, one with Song, and I think a second one with Song, and I did a couple of grind matches for 15 minutes. That was all I did. But I was like, you know what? I always preach to these guys, look, because they like to overthink, like, was this perfect? Was that perfect? I told Cody this a long time, and talk about it after practice. If a guy slaps you in the back of the head, grabs your girl's butt, and takes your beer, are you going to worry about if everything was perfect? You're going to whoop him. And so I kind of go into that mentality. I've built a skill set over a long time. I was not going to make 145 pounds because I was here 162 or 61 the night before when I got the call. And so I was like, all right. They're like, well, how much you weighing? I said, like 162. And he's like, can you get to 55? So I was like, all right. And so I skipped dinner and lost like 7 pounds in the next morning and was ready to rumble.
So you're cutting weight alongside your guy on Friday morning?
Well, I let him cut weight first because I was going to weigh in 11. I did some shadow boxing, and then I cut my weight when he was done. It was a weird. This whole the world is super weird right now. Yeah. And honestly, I was happy not to be fighting because I wasn't prepared. But I would have done it, and I'm glad that Song stepped up because his initial thing was he wanted to prepare. He wants to take this serious as his career, but we're working on his mental game because, as you guys know, he's got this skill set. He's got a love for fighting. He loves the battle. He's sent himself all around the world since he was a little kid trying to pick up tips. He was telling me when he went to Thailand when he was 16, he was running 10 miles a day because the coach told him to, and then he asked his parents to get in the Shaolin monks when he was a 10-year-old, and they're doing 8 hours a day in lines, and he flew himself out when I think he was a teenager to meet us in Sacramento, and I'm like, look, this kid loves to fight. He's got the champion mentality. Something like this should be a lesson for him as he moves towards getting that strap. He's young.
Last thing for me, I know you said you weren't, ready for a fight necessarily, but you weighed in. I know the competitor you are, so was there any part of you that was starting to like, yeah, I'm hyped up now, I'm ready to have a fight?
Oh, are you kidding me? Look, I'm the best delusional guy in the game. I always say Cody Garbrandt's the best guy at manifesting things. I've heard him say things, then he'll manifest them, which Cody's looking amazing right now, too. That was another good test for Song. Those guys are going. It was so much fun to watch. But I'm the best delusional guy in the game, man. I can trick myself into anything. And I was up at 4 in the morning. Ask Dana Sean Shelby and Hunter, I couldn't sleep. I was worried I didn't bring my mouthpiece, so I sent those guys a joint text with a picture of my mouthpiece. I got up in the shadow box and had the mouthpiece. I sent it to him at 4 a.m, and Dana just gave me 3 fist bumps. He was up too, but yeah, I was ready to go, man. I was completely delusional.
Hey, you're right. Happy birthday for the other day.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
You said just then that you were hyped up, ready to go. Does that mean we're more likely to see you in the cage sooner rather than later?
No.
Okay.
I mean, this was purely a case of, look, I knew that was going to be a tough fight for Song, but I knew it was a fight he could win if we got him switched on. I feel like also stylistically that was a good matchup for what I have naturally with my grappling and my style of striking, and I always stay in pretty good shape. But I would be more likely to have taken that fight than a fight on June 6th because I'd have to make 135 pounds, etc. Not being able to, and I was doing it for the story. It was my birthday, 41, Corona, out in Jacksonville, money's probably worth like 3 times what it would be worth anyways. So I'm like, you know what? I'll go out there and scrap 15 minutes against a tough guy.
Cool. I know you weren't fighting tonight, but you're in the corner. What's it like to work in that sort of environment?
I just worry about these guys, and I had my trainer, Master Tonglor Armatsena, for years, where we did not speak the same language, and Song and I are in the same situation. So you're really getting to know a person, and we can communicate really well, but still you don't know what is going on in the head of a 23-year-old guy that you can't have in-depth conversations about. So that's the only thing I worry about. Normally he has like his entourage from China that are all crammed in the room together, and they're doing fun stuff, and it's a little bit more of a fun environment that you would want as a 23-year-old. I remember when I was 23 fighting, man, I would do all sorts of fun stuff like right up to the day. So I was just worried about making sure that it was a fun process for him, and he showed a lot of heart in the 3rd round. He was dead tired. If we hadn't done these terror runs, we did 6 terror runs where he was pushed to the brink, he would not have done well in that 3rd round, and maybe it wouldn't have been the right result.
Last one from me, slightly off topic. Your old friend Dominick Cruz returned to the cage last week.
Right.
What did you think of his performance, how he looked after the layoff, and what did you think of the stoppage?
I thought he looked good. You never know how people are aging. Everybody's different, but he's got a style that lends to a long career. It makes me more and more impressed with Henry Cejudo. I mean, what a champion. It's hard to take him serious sometimes, but you're forced to when he keeps doing what he's doing. I thought, and the referees are in there to do their job and save guys from taking too much damage, but at the end of the day, especially in world championship fights, when you're dealing with guys that are future Hall of Famers and multiple-time world champions, we want to remove all doubt. We want to know, like, I had no more chance. And so I feel for him on that. I feel like he could have still had a chance, and that's always the part that irks you. So I can understand his frustration. I doubt that Keith Peterson was drunk. He might have been sweating some alcohol and definitely smelling like cigarettes, but I don't think he was drunk. He was just trying to look out for Dom.
You're right here in front.
Yeah.
Same question I had for Song. What do you make of Henry's proposed bantamweight Grand Prix for the vacant title now?
I mean, he's going to have zero say on anything, so it's a non-starter, but it is a very interesting time in the weight division. And I mean, you're talking about a whole list of legendary guys, decorated world champions, some of the best of all time, guys that are coming out of, TJ's coming out of his suspension here soon. Cody's got a new fire lit and just been an animal in the gym. You've got all the new guys. You've got, Sean O'Malley, and you've got Sandhagen and Aljamain and Peter Yan and Song Yadong and the list goes on. It's like something needs to happen, because I don't think you line anybody up right now in a 5-round fight and everybody, one person runs through everybody. We're not in that situation right now. It's going to come to how much guys can grow, getting right matchups, having good nights, and a lot of factors will get into it. And I'm just excited for it, really. And I don't know what they're going to do per se, but stars will be born, and champions will be crowned, and stories will be made, and it's an interesting time. I'm glad to be still in the mix.
And one final one, the late Kevin Randleman is joining you in the Hall of Fame as of today. So any memories you have of Kevin?
Dude, I had some great memories with Kevin. That guy was a ball of energy. I remember we had, we were at some rich dude's suite in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay, I believe, and Randleman comes in and he looks at me. I can't remember who else was there. I think it was maybe Danny Castillo, a couple other guys, and he goes, man, I'll tell you what, this sport is blowing up. You're all going to be rich. You're going to be a millionaire. 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 And then he goes, can I borrow $50? It was so funny. And then he proceeded to get in a wrestling match with one of the DeSabato brothers from Ohio on the marble floor. He was a wild man and such a sweetheart. So I'm happy for him.